Joe from Minerva, and today we're going to look at making a makeup bag in a box shape. So you can make simple ones with rectangles and they can be quite flat, or they can have a little base in the bottom. But the one I'm going to make today has a zip that goes all around the top, and it's a sort of box shape that's ideal for a pencil case. These kind of bags are a really great project to know and to get under your belt, because you can make them for all sorts of different things. Makeup bags, pencil cases, little IT tech cases to keep all your bits and bobs in, or they're also great for knitting and crocheting, keeping your projects together. You can make them whatever size you want, and today's tutorial will be just using some rectangles, so there's no pattern involved. I'm going to be using some spotty print for the outside of my bag, and I'm also going to line it. And you can use a zip, any length zip. So this is a dress zip that I've had for a long time, and I didn't get to use it because I swapped my idea halfway through. So I'm going to show you how to sew over the end of your zip so you can make it any length you want, and that means you can make the bag any size that you want. Let's have a look what sizes we need to cut out. Here are the cut pieces. So I have 2 pieces of lining, which are 24 centimetres deep by 33 centimetres wide, and that measurement has come about because I have this zip and I can actually make my bag as long as I like, but I've decided to use some of this dress zip. If you have a smaller zip, then you'll be cutting your fabric smaller, but I can afford quite a large bag. With this zip, the zip will determine how big you cut your fabric. So the spotty fabric is the lining, and I've got a different sort of fabric to show you today. I'm making a men's project bag, and this bag is going to be to keep my husband's sunglasses, goggles and ski gloves in. So I've chosen this poly cotton. It's already been wadded and quilted, but if this isn't available anymore, you can buy your own fabric and add a fusible fleece. So this has got glue on one side and the fleece on the other, and you can either just press that on and get a flat finish, or you can have a go at the quilting. This has just been ready quilted. Or for an even stronger bag that stands up on its own completely, you can try a foam, and your sewing machine needle will go through this as usual, but it is a little bit more tricky to handle under your machine foot. Okay, first of all, we're going to put the zip in. So we're going to put the zip right sides together. That's with the zip pull touching the right side of the fabric. I'm going to leave that 1.5 centimetre tab at the top of the zip, and I'm going to take the zip right off to the other end. Don't cut through a zip with your dressmaking scissors. And just secure the end of this zip for handling, because you don't want it to come undone. You won't see that in your final product, but it's just to stop it coming undone from the end. Okay, let's position it again. So 1.5 centimetres from the end, matching up the raw edges, and then you take piece of lining in the same orientation and put the right side of the lining against the right side of the bag and the wrong side of this zip, so you've got a zip sandwich. And you're going to pin all 3 of those raw edges together. If you're finding at the end where the zip pull is that it's got a little kink in it and you're not quite matching those raw edges up smoothly, then you can use a temporary glue pen. This is often used by quilters to put their little pieces of patchwork onto their paper templates, but it works really well because it's a temporary glue. It can just glue that in place straight, and it washes out afterwards. I've started using that a lot more for my dressmaking projects. Okay, we're now going to stitch along here with a 6mm seam allowance. You will need to take a look at your feet in your little machine box of notions. You might have a thin zipper foot like this, a slightly wider zipper foot, or if you don't have a zipper foot at all because it's gone missing, then you can buy this universal one. It's an adjustable foot. It's got a really narrow gauge here, and you can slide the position of the foot in different directions so that you can get a specific needle point position. So let's sew the zip in place. Now we're going to attach the other side. So I've sewn that in place. I'm just going to smooth that lining and the outer so that it is wrong sides together. Have the work face up, and we're going to repeat. So we're going to put right sides together, the outer, matching up with the zip. And the right sides of the lining together, matching up with the zip, and making sure all of your edges on the sides are in place. Now this is particularly where everything starts to slip a little bit out of place, because we've got 3 layers we're trying to put together: the outer, the zip and the lining, but we've also got this sort of thick chunk inside. So you could try some basting tape. So basting tape is brilliant for applying zips, especially if you always struggle with zips, or zips are your nemesis, or you haven't been choosing them because you think they're tricky. You put this tape on the zipper tape. It's just like double-sided sticky tape, but it is washable. So stick it onto the zipper tape, press it down. If you don't get it quite accurate, it just peels back and you can be millimetre accurate. Take off the tape backing. And now I'm going to attach that to the raw edge of my outer. Especially with a quilted fabric or a fabric with a foam backing, or really thick interfacing, all of those will make it slightly trickier to get that 6mm seam allowance under your foot. So that really helps everything to stop shifting around. And then all we've got to do is just pin the lining on, because I know that the zip's not going to move around or anything because it's attached with the basting tape. Just check the sides are even. I'm just drifting out a little bit there, so I'm just going to check it again, because this is the finished top and sides of your bag, so you want it to be accurate. That's better. So from the inside you have the 2 pieces of lining with the zip in the middle. From the outside we've got the outer fabric and the zip in the middle, and there's plenty of room for the zipper teeth to move up and down. You can test that. And now we're going to construct the bottom of the bag. And this can be a bit tricky. You want the bottom of the bag to have the seam on the inside. So first of all, we're going to sew the 2 outer bases together. That's the seam opposite the zip. You can also do the same with the lining. So from the opposite, this is the zip end, this is the base. Going to sew across there. Now you can do this on a large bag. This one's 30, longer than a ruler, because I can get to each part easily. If you're making a smaller one, you might find it a little trickier, in which case, if you're finding it too tricky, you can just sew the whole lot together, the lining, the 2 outers and the lining, and finish this end with a zigzag stitch. But because I've got a large bag, I can easily manipulate it. I'm going to match up the base and sew the base, and that will be enclosed on the inside of my bag. You'll see in a minute that it will make a tube shape. and you will have a complete tube. So you've got the outer, the zip in the middle, and then that's the base, that line there. And on the inside, you'll have the same. The base won't have an exposed seam, that will be on the inside as well. If you've got a thick fabric, like I have, now's the time to top stitch if you want to. So I'm going to undo my zip to the end, and then make sure that the lining is away from the zipper teeth, and so to the end, and the same on the other side. Right, so my zipper is opening without catching any of my lining. It's quite thick there. And we're going to turn the whole thing to the wrong side. You've got a couple of choices of how to finish here, depending on what machine you've got. So make your bag so that the zipper is lined up with the base and everything is flat on the inside. Importantly, you need to have your bag open, otherwise when you sew the ends you won't be able to get inside. So have your bag open, but ensure that the ends stay together. You might want to start using clips now rather than pins, because you've got a couple of quilted layers there. Depends what materials you're using. If you're using interfacing, you might be okay. If you're using bag making foam, it gets very thick very quick. If you've had any fabric slide like I have here, I made sure that I kept the zipper end really accurate, and any kind of slide or drag in the fabric I had at this end. So we're going to sew across the end of each bag. Don't catch the zip stops, you need those to still be free to operate. And on this end you need to maybe go forwards and backwards a little bit over the end of your zip. Once you've sewn each end, you can zigzag the ends, turn it out, and you will get this sort of flat style pencil case. And that used to fit in my school bag, and I wanted it to be flat, but I want a boxy one today because I want to get lots of content in it. So I'll show you how to make the box shape. You can zigzag the ends. If you really enjoy sewing or you're quite competent, then you can put a piece of bias binding over there, but it all adds to more thickness on the ends. So I'm just going to zigzag those ends together. If you've got an overlocker, you could also overlock along there. It's just going to be right on the insides under the zip, so it won't be showing. And I did that nice finish for the base, so I'm just going to zigzag the ends. Right, so how do we get the box shape? Well, you put your hand inside the bag and you pinch the corners, and then you're going to pin the corners. I'll measure them in a minute. I'm just going to pinch them to show you how to get the shape. Your bag will start to sit up a bit rather than lying flat. But that's a bit of a vague shape. So what we want to do is actually measure these triangles that we're going to create. So from the top of the point, you can decide the depth of your bag. So I would like that to be 5 centimetres. And I need to do that on every one. So I measure from the top of the point, and when I get to 5 centimetres, I can mark that off. And the deeper you make that line, the longer you make that line, the deeper your bag. If you make them smaller, your bag will be flatter. So it depends what you want to keep in it. Now you can cut those triangles off, and that will reduce all the bulk. And zigzag these ends too. So here we are. You've got a box shape, more of a rectangle, very 3D. Stands up on its own, but you could do that with an interfacing. You could use a foam, you can use a fusible fleece. Depends what you're comfortable using, how quick you want it to be, what you want it for. You can also add a grab handle here if you want to, so you want to make it like a wash bag. You could also use PVC coating fabric on the inside. So today I've made a men's one, which I think is a nice change from all our female sew-alongs. So that's the box shape makeup bag or project bag. If you want something slightly more sophisticated and more shaped, you can try the foam, like I mentioned before. That makes a really sturdy bag. And that is using the Sally Tomato Mason pattern. This bag is completely enclosed, so all of the seams are enclosed, and the procedures that are in the pattern show you how to sew it in an order. That means that the bottom and the lining stay inside the bag. They can't flip out. Well, I hope you're inspired to make a project bag. Do head over to Minerva and check out other makers' makes. You can also upload your own projects so that we can see them, and you can share the love with the sewing community. Thank you very much for watching. See you again soon.